And do you have any advice for an individual that actually might be interested in breaking into like the large tech firms, like just like general advice or anything that
Yeah.
can you think help them?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's lots of efficient ways to go about lead code because I hated lead code and I would not want to be that person that has practiced like 200 or 300. Like people do that.
Wow.
And so my advice is just to make sure that when you're learning to do lead code, because it's such a big part of your interview, make sure to Google or learn about the patterns that are in lead code questions as opposed to the questions themselves.
Yep.
If you can do like a couple of questions from a pattern and learn the pattern that way, you don't need to do seven others that are of the same pattern. And it saves you a lot of time because lead code was mentally draining for me.
Yeah.
And so that's like the one piece of advice. Make sure to definitely learn the patterns. I did not end up doing more than 70 questions. And even out of the 70, like 30 or 35 of them were those easy questions that take like 5 minutes a piece. It's
Okay.
it's
Sweet.
really like practice. Can you write code kind of questions, like not the ones that take 30 minutes or so. So I didn't do like any more than 70.
Gotcha.
So make sure to recognize those patterns and then get your resume critiqued by as many people as you can. I feel like resumes are really, really important in getting you through to the interview. Remember, the entire point of a resume is to just get you that first interview. So make sure that like you're using proper words and make sure to send it to a bunch of people that can properly take some time to critique it. That's really, really helpful.
Got you. And how would you at least define success in your terms?
Mhm.
Like, do you have like a mantra or something that you follow, or is it do you have something that pushes you forward?
Yeah, there's always that aspect of growing. Right now, my big career goal is to get to a point in life where I can architect an app from scratch. And I'm slowly getting there because it's easy to write small apps, but apps that enterprises write, like you might think something like, I don't know, like Facebook. Well, Facebook's pretty complicated, but even something simple like a to-do app that Microsoft or Google
Yep.
writes, they have to write an app that has to be equally as fast and performant and correct for millions and millions of people. So I want to get to a point where I am sure that I can do that and get
Right.
to that usually translates to getting to the architect level or the principal level and like having that in your title at most big tech or like tech in general. So that's what my big goal is, but also I'm not rushing towards that, that I'm not burning out. Like I'm aware of that. So that goal is my North Star, and I'm like aware of the little steps I'm taking along the way. And if I can like measure my progress from last quarter and just keep myself ever so slightly uncomfortable. Ever so slightly though, like I don't like to be
Yeah.
too uncomfortable,
Yeah. That's right.
but ever so slightly uncomfortable. If I'm feeling that way, that means I'm growing and getting to my North Star.
Okay. And when did you know that you were interested in like developing like an app or whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it in university or was it like as you worked, you realized, okay, this is something I want to do long term?
Oh yeah, so like writing Android apps specifically, or I knew I wanted to work on mobile because I used to mess with my phone way
Yeah.
back like
Gotcha.
in high
Yeah.
school and before high
Hmm.
school. So I knew I wanted to write apps. That was like definitely a thing I knew I wanted to do then. At the time, I had obviously a romanticized idea of what it would mean to write apps. Like I didn't know what it meant to write apps, but I just
Yep.
like the idea of it. And throughout my co-ops, I didn't quite get a chance until my last one at Splunk. And when I did that, it made me really happy to see writing something that you can see on your screen, you can interact with. So I love like writing front end systems. You might not like or like appreciate when like you press a button and confetti goes everywhere, but I love that. Like
Yeah.
it's fantastic when if I can get to write something where you press like a like icon and it like wiggles a little bit before
Yeah.
it settles down. That was always something I wanted to do, and now having done it for a few years because my Splunk co-op was working in Android. The tool I worked on an Android app. The only reason I took a job was because I wanted them to confirm that I'm always working in mobile. And then like right now, Microsoft, I write Android apps. Like having done it for a while, I'm pretty set that this
Something.
is very similar to the idea that I had of writing apps. And so I kind of like wanted to do it. And then when I did it, I'm like, yeah, I definitely like it. Like
Yeah.
more confetti buttons everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess was there any like groups you joined throughout the entire process that helped you, or was it just you solo did it and you worked from there, and then also going through the sites and whatnot?
Yeah, no groups in particular, but you always have
Okay.
this like kind of cohort in university. So always like leverage them. They might not get you to an Android position, but they have lots of tips to make sure that you get a position in tech. And from there, early in your career, like for the first 2 years, the skills that you're developing, it's almost not worth to specialize that early. Like I've specialized that early. Like I'm mobile is a specialization, but it's kind of like I always wanted to do it. And I kind of fell into it, and it was really good. I really liked it, so I'm choosing to stay in it. But the skills that you build, even in mobile, a lot of them are just general software skills that are going to get you into any. They're going to be helpful in any kind of specialization that you need to
Yep.
do. So I didn't like because of that, I didn't worry about looking out for groups. So aside from just the people you go to school with, just make sure to get your resume critiqued a bunch of times and
Yeah.
make sure that you're prepping the right way and learning if there's something that everyone's talking about and everyone's wanting to learn, that prop thing is more likely than not pretty helpful and you should look into it.
Got you. And I guess like ending off in the last question, is there like a favorite moment you had during either your work terms, your co-op terms, in Pakistan, kind of like, was there a specific, moment that really drove you forward and pushed you?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the work that I've done here at Microsoft has been really it has made me feel really accomplished because even the changes that I was making at D2L, because I always want to write Android apps,
Yeah.
and changes that you make or stuff that you write at Splunk or D2L is obviously smaller scope. But at Microsoft here, I'm very lucky in the team that I'm in and in the org that I'm in, and the fact that like I have a fantastic manager. Like everything's just I've lucked out into so many things.
Yeah.
Like it really is a big privilege for me. But I get that opportunity and to see it work and to see it work in the hands of so many people. And it's that is very motivating when you see
Yeah.
make the changes that are very visible. I made some changes that show up on almost every single screen of the app. And it's pretty
Nice. Yeah.
substantial. Like people have to use them. And
Right.
I remember like it was terrifying when it finally like rolled out to bigger and bigger groups of people to use
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I really hope I didn't break anything, and it's so terrifying. And I was like
Yeah.
so careful, but still, you're so nervous. And to see it work, and to see like work consistently, and then people say, well, like, this is a good change. I like this,
Yeah.
and I like this new way of doing things. So that's very fulfilling for me right now. And because I also like keep myself ever so slightly uncomfortable, when you see the work that you've done come to fruition, and knowing that you were a little uncomfortable and you had a little bit of uncertainty when you were starting it, you can like see how far you've come along, even if it's as short as like a month and a half.
Right.
That is very fulfilling for me, and it happens like over and over, and I still haven't gotten bored of it. We'll see if it ever like runs out and I have to like find more motivation somewhere. But
Yeah.
right now, that's what keeps me going. Like I
Right.
I get to like see and interact with my work.